welcome back to episode 2 of Bros Who Close. As you guys can see, we've got a pretty decent setup from last time.
Yeah, we had no setup last time.
We had a blank wall, which was the same wall, and we had one camera, and now we've got the setup, and we've got this awesome gentleman here helping us out. He's running around.
Exactly, and Sid decided to get Ollie. So Ollie's going to be in episode 2.
This is she may just be a mascot for this dog.
Bros Who Close. We didn't do our fist bump, Bros Who Close.
Bros Who Close. So
episode 2.
Signature fist bump?
Signature fist bump, exactly.
Signature fist bump to start and end the episodes.
Exactly. So what are we going to talk about today?
So today we're going to talk about how to start and scale a real estate business. But I feel like it'll apply to any business. We're going to talk about our own experience when it comes to real estate, how we got here. The last episode we talked about how we started, your start, my start, and how we were kind of doing this willy-nilly, no real strategy or approach.
Right.
And how we started, today we can talk about how we started with the cold calling and kind of took it off from there, and how over time, just like any business, I'm sure you learn from a lot of your mistakes, your failures, and a lot of trial and error, and you bring it to where it is today.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I mean, our journey really started, last episode we kind of talked about how, I started in real estate and Sid joined, a few years later. And, when we first started our team, I remember, quote unquote team, it was just the two of us really in the team. And one of the biggest challenges we faced at that point is we were doing everything. Mm-hmm. We were the one who had to figure out the systems. We had to go and research, hey, like we're going to now do cold calling. What kind of software do we use to cold call? And, what kind of systems do we need to put in place? Where do we get the list from? Like everything we had to kind of figure out on our own. And I remember we got this one listing out in Milton. Mm-hmm. And, we started cold calling. We had this cold list of people that we got through telelisting.ca, I think it was. And our brokerage pays for the license. We figured that out, as we were doing this. And we downloaded the list and we just started calling. And we found success pretty quick. Yeah. Like we had our first listing within the first week. And I'm like, what's going on? Like we here we are. So like, oh no, you know what? Let's just go and start cold calling. And boom, like 1 week later, we had our first listing.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff we did was pretty much on the fly. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but we were sitting in my condo and I had my laptop and Saurabh said, hey, there's this list called telelisting. And my background is cold calling. So Saurabh hadn't really cold called prior to that. He was doing lead generation and, we got this list and I'm like, no, I don't even think this was a telelisting list. I think we figured out how to get random landline phone numbers from somewhere, from the streets. And we started calling a lot of the streets and just randomly started calling these people with no script at all. And that's where it really snowballed into, okay, let's get telelisting. Okay, let's get a dialer. And then from there, we kind of figured things out as we went without any real direction at the time. But what we were doing at the time was just taking massive action. And that massive action led to this implementation of, the tech, the systems that we have. But it really just started with having a list, cold calling, and we started seeing results almost immediately. And we're like, holy shit, we got to do more of this.
Absolutely. I remember the very first call, because again, I didn't come from a cold calling background. We were just kind of sitting in Sid's condo and calling. And I remember the first call I ever made, it was to a phone number in Burlington. I remember this clearly, and I just completely fucked that call. Yeah. It was just the most horrendous call ever.
There was a lot of fuck-ups and a lot of awkward calls that were made in the beginning, especially by Saurabh. I'm pretty sure he was like quivering and shaking. It was pretty funny, though. I wish we had this saved somewhere.
Oh, man. But you know what? The key takeaway was, to your point, that we just took action.
Yeah.
And, with every business out there, it doesn't matter where your starting point is, whether you're starting from zero today or whether you're at a certain point in your business where you need to understand, like, hey, like, what do I need to do more? Honestly, like, our biggest takeaway was just do it.
Yeah.
And, just take the action, just get it done. You'll figure out as we go. We figure out this podcast as we're going. We're supposed to start at 9. It's now 10:30.
Yeah, we took an hour and a half to figure out the mics, this. We had issues. We're looking for a screwdriver, and we're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
But we figured it out, right, to Saurabh's point. And I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed with different softwares, different companies. Oh, should I use this lead generation company, or should I use this CRM, or should I use that software? And they make this huge, this big deal about before they even get started. Right. And I think the key to everything really is to start taking action, and then everything else will fall into place. Everything else you can figure out, but you got to just start with that first action of like, hey, let me just pick up the phone and let me just call the people in my sphere before I start investing in like Mojo Dialer or lead generation software or a CRM.
Absolutely. And, you know, people forget. So if you're a new realtor out there, people really forget the importance of calling your sphere. You know, as a first time, I remember my very first day, it was in this office. It was in the other corner. And, you know, I tell the story quite a bit. Is I came in day one, I had just come from a corporate background, you know, where things were very structured. You know, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I came from accounting and finance. I knew exactly what I needed to do the next day. You know, I came to this office, I opened my laptop, and I always started tearing up. I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Because, you know, I don't know too many people know this, but the first 28 days of my career in real estate, I was with the team. And I did not see the team lead one time in those 28 days. And I did 4 deals in my first month in real estate. And after that, I was like, why am I paying this guy like, you know, X amount of percentage every single month when it doesn't even show up? There's no mentorship. You know, we talked about that in the last episode. So, you know, getting back to that is, you know, what I knew is to start calling. I knew to start calling my sphere. So honestly, I just quit a job, or you know, quote unquote, got laid off from a job. I just call my people in my phone and say, hey guys, you know, I've started my new career. You know, I'm no longer you know, working in the corporate world. I've started my own business, and would you support me? Really, it was the conversations like. And, you know, people are very receptive to, you know, you going out, putting yourself really out there and asking for help.
Yeah.
And if you just put yourself out there, ask for help from your sphere, ask your help from your family, friends, you know, people that you meet, and they will reciprocate. They will give you business. So I think that's how you should, if you're a first-year agent out there, that's how you should really start. You know, forget all the tech, forget the CRMs, forget everything else. Just start calling your fear and figure out as you go. As you start getting more and more deals, you will, you know, at that point you can start investing in systems and et cetera.
Yeah, people really underestimate the power of their sphere, right? And a lot of new agents, when they, you know, I get calls from new agents when they're asking for, you know, I sign up for some of these different companies and I'm put in there as a referral. A lot of agents call me and they say, hey, I'm just starting out, you know, what lead generation company should I use, or where do you get your leads? And I go, hold on, have you tried calling your sphere? Like, what do you do for work? What did you do before this? What's your background? How many people are in your cell phone? Because people, to your point, underestimate people that are actually willing to help them.
That's right.
You know, I remember, you know, I'm a huge gym buff. I love going to the gym. I love working out, and that's sort of my passion. That's a place that I spend every day. And I knew a ton of people there. So for me, the natural first place was to start talking to people in my gym that I already talked to about, hey, I'm in real estate. And to be honest, before I even started pitching and saying, hey, do you want to buy or sell? I never brought up any of that stuff, right? And because those conversations would naturally happen. I genuinely had a curiosity of people at the gym, and I started conversating with them, and they would naturally ask, hey, what do you do? I go, I'm a real estate agent. And they go, oh, well, you know, I'm looking, or I will be looking, or I have a friend, or I have a sister. And yeah, everybody wants to help. But if you don't leverage your already existing sphere, your hobbies, the place that you hang out, the place that you frequent, maybe you go to a bar, maybe you are into music, maybe you go to the gym, or maybe you're still working somewhere and you have a list of people that you're constantly in communication with. If you don't capitalize on those people first, how can you expect to go and start converting leads when you have the easiest people to talk to in front of you? But I think that brings us to a bigger point, which is I think a lot of people have a fear of reaching out to the people that they know.
Absolutely.
Because they fear, A, either rejection from people they know, or B, they fear that they're going to look desperate. And I think that's a mental hurdle that they have to overcome because, again, that's the easiest source of business for you waiting right there.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a mindset shift, right? And we'll talk about, we'll dedicate one episode just to mindset, but it's just a mindset shift. I remember, I'll leave with a quick story. I remember, when we started cold calling, and this is one day that Sid and I came to the office, and we used to go to the gym. This is during COVID.
Yeah.
We used to go to the gym super early because it was this one gym that was open in Burlington.
Yeah.
We used to go at 4:45 in the morning, and we'd leave by 5, and we'd get to the gym by 5:30. Do our workout and come to the office. And one day we started calling, and we were just not getting any results. And we had already converted a few listings at that point. We're just not getting results, and we're just kind of after an hour of cold calling. Our goal was to hit 50 contacts. We're using Mojo Dialer. I remember triple line. And after an hour of calling, we were just totally drained. And I could just see our shift, right? I could just see like, man, this is really not working out. So I said, let's just stop for a second. And what we did is we figured out how many calls had we made in that past month, and how many of those calls had then converted into a listing and then a sale. And we took that dollar value and we converted it back to how many no's did we get during those calls that particular day. And we figured out that it was 178 something odd dollars and something cents. It was about $178 per call. So it was just a shift in our mindset. And we said, you know what? For every no that we got today, we should really be thanking them, saying, thank you for making us $178.
Yeah, when you really put it into perspective like that, put a dollar figure on there, it changes everything. Because most people have a fear of rejection. Most people have a fear of getting the no. But the reality is, when you work in sales, you're going to get no's. You're going to get more no's than you get yeses.
Absolutely.
There's no other way around it. If you reach out to 100 people, majority of people are going to say no. But you're going to have 2 to 3 people who will say yes. If you're willing to go through that hurdle of getting the no's, getting the rejections, and then to put a dollar figure on there, at least that worked for us. We put a number on it so that we could celebrate and go, hey, thanks for hanging up on us. We made $178. And that really changed our perspective on how we made this thing more of a lighter situation. We made it funny. We made it engaging, entertaining. And I think that's, people have to just relate it to something in their life and just see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And whatever that, mindset shift would be for you. For us, it was dollars. We were, at that point, our mindset was like, hey, we just need to get to the next call. We just need to get our next listing. And the easiest way for us to put, a success number behind it was to say, hey, how many no's are we getting? And honestly, I think every entrepreneur kind of talks about this, is your next no eventually will lead to your a yes. So you're getting your reps in, you're getting as many no's as possible. So ultimately you get that yes, and whatever that yes would lead to for you as an entrepreneur, whether it's more sales or more dollars, or if you've got a goal around something, Sid just bought a new car. Maybe his goal was, hey, I want to get a new car if I get to X amount, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's a new watch. Whatever that is for you, just strive towards something that you are striving towards ultimately, to be able to get there.
Yeah, I forget where I'd heard this. It was at a different podcast, and this guy says, imagine, this is relating to cold calling. Imagine you knew you were going to make 100 calls today, and you knew the 99th call was going to result in $1 million. And you knew this for a fact. And you keep dialing. Would you, knowing that, stop at the 30th call or the 35th call or the 40th call? Right?
Right.
But if you, again, this is all a mindset shift. If you know that that's what it's going to result in, and numbers don't lie, right? We've seen our own data. We've seen our own track record. And we're not, this goes beyond industries and beyond sales organizations. Everywhere, the numbers are the same. They ask you to hit certain metrics because they know that certain metrics will result in certain sales. So knowing that on your 99th call, you're going to make this amount of money, would you hang up and would you stop? And the answer is no, you wouldn't stop. If you knew you were going to make $1 million in your 99th call, you'd keep going.
Absolutely, right? And, to the same point, an extension of that is, let's just talk about really what, how one should get started. We'll talk about, if you're at a certain point, but I want to really focus today on, if you're first starting out in real estate, where do you truly start? And a lot of first year agents come to me and say like, hey, where do I start? If some of them are very young, some of them are seasoned, but where do we truly start? And the number one piece of advice I want to give to those people is, and I continuously tell them, is start with leases. There's such low hanging fruit, and you don't even have to start with the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 lease. Start with leases that nobody else wants to service. And what I truly mean by that is, start with your $2,000 lease. Start with your $2,200 lease. There's a lot of condos downtown Toronto that are extremely small, sub 500 square feet condos that are going for about $2,200 a month.
Yeah.
And no agent out there wants to service them because they feel that the dollar value is too little.
Right.
And it's such an underserviced market right now where you're able to, if you put something out there, you really put yourself out there saying like, hey, this is the segment that I'm going to service today, you'll get a lot of results. Now, here's the thing. Get your reps in with those $2,200, $2,300 rentals.
Yeah.
After a while, once you've done 10, 15 deals, and it's very easy to do those $2,200 leases at 10, 15. That's $15,000 after your splits. Then go to the $3,000 lease, go to the $3,500 lease, go to the $4,000 lease, and at some point you're going to become so confident that once you start do those $4,000 or $5,000 leases, at one point you're going to ask those people, hey man, I know you're trying to look for a $5,000 apartment, but have you considered buying this instead? Let me show you in a calculator, or let me get you in front of a mortgage broker to see what you actually qualify for. It actually might be cheaper for you to buy than to lease.
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. If they have the down payment and if they have the ability to qualify for a mortgage, absolutely, and you can educate, right? But I think to your point, leases are a great way to start. And one of the reasons why leases are great too is because it gets the reps in, but it also gives you the confidence before you start working with buyers, before you start doing the $500,000 or even $1 million transaction. You know what it's like to show properties. You know what it's like to get them to close the deal. But also, if you're a new agent and you just want a very simple business model to start out with, easiest thing for you to do, go on Facebook Marketplace right now. Go talk to one of your agents at your office. Chances are you have to be part of a brokerage. Chances are there's a lot of agents out there who have listings for lease, and they would love for those lease listings to be listed. Ask them permission. Hey, can I post this on Facebook Marketplace?
Yep.
And then start posting those on Marketplace. Start responding to people who respond to your inquiries and start taking them out. It's the easiest way to get business. Leverage technology. If you're not on Facebook, obviously make sure you're on there. And it's the very easy way to start getting leads right away.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how I started. I remember my very first lease to this day because I got locked out. I'll tell you this story. So I remember very first, I think it was my second month in real estate, and I did the same thing. I went on Facebook Marketplace. I put in this one lease. I didn't really ask for permission. And the reality is, guys, like, you don't really need to ask for permission because if you just go in and type a lease address, it shows up on different websites. So that truly means that if it's on IDX, that they've already given permission for you to advertise. So it's no different whether if you're advertising on a website or on Facebook Marketplace. So I would just take lease listings. I would just put it out there. So I put a lease listing out there. I still remember there was these two girls in their 20s, and they were moving out of their parents' house into a lease. It was in Liberty Village. I forget what building it was. But it was quite high up there. I was on a 35th floor showing them this apartment, and I go to get the lockbox, right? And they're standing in front of the apartment. They're like, oh, guys, I'll be right back. I have to just go and get this lockbox. And I go out. I open the door. The door closes behind me. I get very confidently, get the lockbox, get the keys out. And I try to open the door back, and it's fucking locked.
Yeah.
So I locked myself out.
Yeah, fun time.
On the 35th floor, showing a lease. And both the girls were on the completely other side. And then I just felt my heart just sink. I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Yeah. I'm on the 35th floor of this building. I have to walk down 35 stories. So I start banging on the door, asking for help. And, as I was about to give up, so finally they opened up the door. I continued to knock, and finally they opened up the door. And, I was able to go and show the apartment. Takeaway is, if you go in a tall building, Now, since that experience, I've never let a door close behind me.
Yeah, I have PTSD because that happened to me as well, and I've learned the lesson. And now I bring the clients with me. I go, listen, hold the door for me because I don't know. Literally happened yesterday or day before when I was doing a showing, and I asked the client, I'm like, hey, listen, just hold the door open for me. And then you just never know what you see coming, and it's a freaking really funny story.
It is. So one of the other takeaways is I never ended up getting that lease. By the way,
Yeah.
It's they ended up going with somebody else, and it was a whole. That was another story. However, now if especially with today's new rules and regulations that we have, within real estate, it's very important that before you start taking out these buyers, especially these $2,200, $2,300 leases, ask for that BRA to be signed. Hey, I'm showing my commitment by investing my time into your search. It doesn't cost you anything to be able to, use my services. As a matter of fact, I'm probably in the best position to recommend you to the landlords as opposed to you going directly. So I'm showing my commitment to you in return to show your commitment to me. Yeah. By signing this piece of paper, by signing that BRA for that leasing.
Yeah, I think most people, the problem that most agents have is they don't know how to qualify and vet people, whether it's leases, buyers, sellers.
Yep.
The most important thing when it comes to sitting down with a client, a prospect, face-to-face, or if you're doing it over Zoom, is to ask the right questions, qualify them, and when you see that they're a good fit to buy, sell, lease, you make sure that you give your value proposition. Most agents, they will talk to a lead online or somebody they just met, and they'll say, yep, let's go and start looking at properties. They haven't done their due diligence. They haven't qualified them. They haven't even given their value proposition to show why they would be the best person for that job.
Right.
And that's where instances like that happen, where they go, well, we decided to work with somebody else. Right. Or, sorry, but my uncle's an agent or my aunt's an agent. Well, you haven't done your job as an agent. Well, really, before an agent, you're a salesperson.
Right.
And as a salesperson, your job is to talk about your value proposition and what you bring to the table. And I think most agents need to just take their time and have the confidence to sit down with people and ask them the right questions, ask them the tough questions before you actually start going out. And prior to that, get a BRA signed, get a listing agreement signed. Before you start investing your time, resources, and money, you want to make sure that you believe in your services and you believe in the value that you provide, and that starts with your belief.
Absolutely. And you know what? Once you're first starting out, you may not have that confidence, right? When you're first taking out your first client out, you may not have that confidence. And that's why, to my point earlier, is start with those very low-hanging fruit. Start with those $2,200 leases because there's a lot of people looking. And you'd be very surprised how many people actually reach out to you for those, quote unquote cheap rentals.
Yeah.
Because there is such a massive demand for it, and that'll really bring out your confidence, and they're easier for them to get those BRA signed. And to your point earlier, yes, put your value proposition out there. Do a needs analysis. Hey, where do you need to live? Why do you need to live here? Why do you need a 1-bedroom apartment? Where do you work? Like things of that nature. What do you earn? And get all those documents even up front for a lease agent.
Team lead who's looking to hire your first couple of agents, this is the best piece of advice, especially if the agent is new, is to get them started on leases before you throw them to the wolves and get them working with buyers and sellers, which I don't recommend you do unless that agent has a lot of expertise and they have a few sales under their belt. Get everybody started with leases and show them the path on how to actually get started with leases. Show them the roadmap of how to go on and generate lease listings from Facebook Marketplace, how to get tenants from Facebook Marketplace. If you have lease listings, put the agent as one of the reps on there so they can start doing the due diligence and vetting the process for you, because A, they get to learn and get the experience, and B, you get a lot off of your plate while the agent's learning.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's, again, going back to, yes, if the agent comes from experience, sure, you can maybe give up 1 or 2 buys or sells. However, I would still say that the first year of a new agent, you should primarily be focused on leases, getting to know all if you're doing condominiums, and there's tons of condos in the city of Toronto. Get your reps in with doing tons of leases. So you just build those confidence, and guess what, guys? Those leases will convert to buys.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, and at later episodes we'll talk about like the systems that we use to be able to nurture these people in. I was one of our reps, Hadar, just came to me the other day and said, "Oh my God, this was so cool. She'd just done a lease, and the automated drip emails just hit one of our clients, and she replied, and she goes." I never even remember emailing this person, but the system was working for her, or with her. Now the client replied, and it was just another touch point, and it was another touch point for Hadar to like just email him back and just touch base.
Yeah, the biggest thing with anything you do, whether you're converting a lease client, whether you're converting a buyer or seller, is to be top of mind and nurture that person, right? And even if a lot of agents want to not do leases, the reason why leases are important is they're going to convert into buyers at some point, as long as you're doing your job and maintaining the relationship. So yeah, in the future episodes, we're going to talk about systems and how to actually nurture these leads, how many touch points, exactly what to say. So super excited to talk about that in one of the episodes in the future.
Yeah, same here, man. So we are, again, Bros Who Close. I hope you got a lot of value from our episode today. And again, in the future, just keep watching us. If you like the content, please like and subscribe.
To our you can
YouTube
follow
channel.
us on Instagram at Broswhoclose, on YouTube on Broswhoclose, and TikTok on Broswhoclose, and of course, subscribe to this channel.
Bros Who Close.
Check it out.